The finance world mostly agrees on one thing. Donald Trump's tariffs are causing significant turmoil. The latest trade war sparked by the former U.S. president has created confusion, volatility, and uncertainty in the global market. In fact, many experts believe that these tariffs might be the beginning of a much bigger problem, a global trade war that could hurt not just the U.S., but countries all over the world. But what's the real impact of these tariffs, and why are so many economists and analysts warning that this move could backfire? In today's video, we'll break down why Trump's tariffs might be bad news for the U.S., what economists are saying about the situation, and how this could affect global trade in the future. So, let's dive in. President Donald Trump followed through on one of his most controversial promises. He threatened tariffs, and he executed them. On February 1, 2025, Trump imposed tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and China. The tariffs are severe: 25% on Mexico and Canada and 10% on China. What's the purpose of these tariffs? Well, Trump claimed that the tariffs were part of a larger strategy to stop illegal immigration and curb drug trafficking from these countries into the U.S. He argued that while there could be some pain in the short term, the long-term benefits would outweigh the costs. Trump has been vocal about his belief that these tariffs would lead to a golden age of America. But are these tariffs truly beneficial, or are they setting the stage for an economic crisis? As you might expect, the world isn't entirely on board with Trump's tariff strategy. In fact, the consensus among economists and financial experts is far from positive. Let's take a look at what some of the top financial institutions are saying about these tariffs. Deutsche Bank's global head of macro research warned of a manic Monday, referencing the market's dramatic reaction to the tariffs. Global stock markets fell sharply after the announcement, with the S&P 500 dropping by as much as 1.9%. Although stocks managed to recover a bit after news of a temporary hold on the tariffs, the damage was done. The Wall Street Journal's editorial board, which often leans in favor of Republican policies, called these tariffs the dumbest trade war in history. They argued that imposing a 25% tariff on Canada and Mexico, both of whom are U.S. allies, made little economic sense, and the 10% tariff on China wasn't much better. The editorial board compared it to a line from a Bernard Lewis joke: "It's risky to be America's enemy, but it's fatal to be its friend." Even more, J.P. Morgan, one of the world's largest investment banks, expressed deep concern about the tariffs. They warned that these tariffs could undermine the pro-business environment that Trump's administration had built, adding unnecessary risks to an already volatile market. So what does all this mean for the economy? The reality is these tariffs could have serious consequences, not just for the U.S., but for the global economy. For one, higher prices for consumers in the U.S. are almost inevitable. When tariffs are imposed on goods from foreign countries, companies often pass on the additional cost to consumers in the form of higher prices. This could hurt American families who are already facing inflationary pressures. Goldman Sachs also raised concerns about the long-term effects of the tariffs. They warned that if these tariffs continue for an extended period, consumer prices would rise, putting a strain on American households. Furthermore, Capital Economics warned that these tariffs could lead to a global trade war. If Mexico and Canada retaliate with their own tariffs, it could set off a chain reaction of protectionist measures across the world. This could cause a significant slowdown in global trade, pushing economies like Mexico and Canada into recession. It's important to note that the tariffs might not be set in stone. There's speculation that Trump may be using the tariffs as a negotiation tactic. After all, the tariffs were implemented with the hope of pressuring Mexico, Canada, and China into making concessions. In fact, after Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum held a phone call with Trump, she announced that the tariffs would be put on hold for a month. In exchange, Mexico agreed to send 10,000 troops to the U.S.-Mexico border to help combat the flow of fentanyl. This raises the question, will the tariffs go back into effect after the one-month pause? Could Canada or China use this time to negotiate similar terms? It's unclear, but one thing is certain: this issue is far from over, and there's likely more turbulence ahead. Trump's tariffs represent a larger shift in global trade dynamics. The immediate impact has been chaos in the markets, with stocks fluctuating and investors uncertain about what's to come. The global economy is on edge, and experts are warning that these tariffs could spark a much larger trade war, one that could disrupt economies for years to come. As the situation unfolds, it will be critical to watch what happens with the negotiations between the US, Canada, Mexico, and China. These tariffs could either ease up or escalate, depending on how negotiations play out. For now, all eyes are on President Trump and whether he will continue to use tariffs as a tool for negotiation or push them further, risking a global economic downturn. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated on the latest financial news and economic trends. Stay tuned for more insights into the world of global finance and economics.